think for me, the things that when I look at the characteristics of what makes a comedian, when I say makes a comedian, I'm not talking about their material now. I'm not talking about their performance. There are a couple of things that I think work against a comedian. One is the constant validation from others. And so if you're an insecure person already and you don't have confidence, comedy will kill you. If you're not independently minded, comedy will kill you. If you're always constantly thinking about reassurance, comedy will kill you. If you are always looking at how others are doing and they're doing better than you, comedy will kill you. For me, I've always said, and this is something that I had as an idea, that even before you start teaching people how to be funny, you've got to teach them about resilience, about confidence, about believing in themselves, about creating their own voice. And I hear this a lot about, oh, you have to have your own voice. But you want to have your own voice that is unique. What makes it different? What makes what you do different? And also, I remember when I first started, and someone used to say to me, oh, but do it this way. I said, no, I want to break the rules of comedy. I am me. This is who I am. So it's either people accept it or they don't. And if that stops me from progressing, fine. But I am happy the way I am. So being independently minded is really, really important. So yes, I agree with John in terms of you finding your own voice. Because Obonjo is Obonjo. Obonjo is not Marvin. Do you understand what I'm saying? Obonjo is not Joe Lycett, or Obonjo is not Michael McIntyre. Obonjo is not Regina D. Hunter. Regina D. Hunter is Regina D. Hunter. So why can't Obonjo be Obonjo?
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's why, for example, one of the things I did when I was studying how people did their comedy, I'm sure you know this. There used to be, I don't know if they'd say it anymore, but one of the things I said to myself, I will never ever say when I get on stage. That was because I was independently minded. And that is not to do with criticizing how comedy causes people have thought comedy. Is the first thing the comic will say is, it's nice to be here. Hello? The dictator won't tell you it's nice to be here. He's left his home to come and perform for you. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I flipped it around. I just genuinely thought the only way, and it's competitive. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's what is your own unique selling point? I really feel strongly about this. And this is where some comics end up having breakdowns because they haven't really thought about the separate the comedy. What are you as a person? Are you a confident person? Yeah, are you resilient? Is your life together outside comedy? Because that's really, really important. What's your support mechanism like before you go into comedy? If you're a vulnerable person and you're going into comedy, do you understand where I'm coming from? It's gonna kill you. It's not for you. Comedy is not for you. And I don't care who gets offended by this. You really, you almost like, I almost think that what you need to do before you actually go on a comedy course is do a self-assessment of yourself. What are you like as a person?
You basically said that it's a bit like, it's a bit like, you basically described it a bit like a driving test in a way, like comedies. Hear me out. Like you're saying, like you have the theory and you have the practical, and you're saying that, you're saying that people should be tested before they do comedy.
No. I'm not saying.
No,
I'm not saying. I'm not saying they should. I'm not. Yeah, but I know what you mean. But I'm not saying that they should be tested. But I think they need to test themselves, because I think people take for granted what is, because look at the pandemic, for example. The pandemic is a good example. Yeah, even though it's devastated the comedy industry, there are still comics out there who have positive, successful stories to share. Things that have happened. Things have happened for some comics in the pandemic, before the pandemic. There are comics who got signed. There are comics who ended up on TV. Do you understand what I'm saying? And the pandemic was a change. It was a real transformation. It was about how you as a person can adapt to change. And not everyone can adapt to change. Those who were able to adapt to change and embrace change hit the ground running. Those who were not together with it mentally, and it happens, took their time before they could even think about what they wanted to do during the pandemic. Some never actually recovered from it. Some are still going through that process mentally. Do you understand what I'm saying? That because we're all different human beings. But what really, because for me, it's the vulnerable ones that get, they're the ones who get bullied. They're the ones who people take advantage of. So you really need to be, if a new comic came to me, if someone came to me and said, oh, I want to be a comic, I'd say, okay, put the comic as, you want to do comedy, okay, that's fine. What are you like as a person? Do you have resilience? If you haven't got resilience, go and develop resilience. If you haven't got confidence in yourself, go and develop confidence. If you haven't got the ability to understand that you will get rejected, and you haven't got the skills on how coping mechanisms to deal with rejection, go and start developing it. If you go to places where you can perform and you do very, very well and you still don't get booked again, that's almost like rejection, because the comedy promoter thinks, yeah, you did well, but you're not playing in my club because I don't like your material. How do you deal with that? Yeah. It's almost like you must have, it's almost like a psychological thing. You almost need a school of psychology that prepares you before you actually do a comedy course. You do that assessment. And then you pass the assessment, as you rightly pointed out, then we release you to the world, go do comedy. So when someone says to you, okay, fine, you send as many emails as possible and nobody's booking you, or you can't get gigs, or you've just done a gig and the gig is great, but you've done well, not because you're deluded, but you're still not getting booked, or you're able to deal with, I've been performing comedy for about 10 years, but this person has been doing comedy for 3 years, all of a sudden, boom, he's on TV. Who teaches you how to deal with that?
Yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's effectively, it's a bit like going a business agreement or something with thousands of pounds on the line without knowing what the full impact of everything you do is going to happen.
No, the impact is unbelievable, and people were in for a rude shock in the pandemic. Everyone, established, non-established, amateurs, beginners. You remember that hashtag called Save Life Comedy?
Yeah,
I'm sure you remember that was launched during the pandemic. My view is that every single person, no matter where you are in your comedy career, contributed towards the comedy industry. Be it a TV comic, open mic comic, every an audience member will go to an open mic comedy show. Yeah, bad or good, whatever. They'll see comedy there. They'll watch TV. Every single person contributed towards the comedy industry.
Yeah.
Your club did. Yeah, there's so many other comedy clubs where top acts come to and try new material before they move on and go somewhere else. That's all part of Save Life Comedy.
The whole infrastructure.
But what you now have, it's the whole thing. It's collapsed. It just literally collapsed, and it's going to take a while for it. But who's taking care of those comics who are vulnerable, who haven't got the mental strength to deal with change? Who's helping those who cannot adapt, rightly or wrongly, because they've all contributed to Save Life Comedy.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. What you said there is a bit like with pubs getting shut down after lockdown. Like there are already some pubs that are on the precipice of going down or staying, and this sort of thing pushed them over. And what you're saying with comedians who aren't quite equipped in certain areas, this thing will just push them right over the edge of either quitting or just completely losing it up the stairs.
Yeah, yeah. When I first started, someone said, "Oh, you got 300. Well, you have too many comedians." You hear people talk, "Oh, there are too many comedians. There are too many comedians." Yeah, there might be too many comedians for the way you want them to do comedy. Yeah, but there are not
Yeah,
too many comedians where they want to create something unique and different. Because audiences, I have to say this, audiences are bored of saying the same old manufactured comedy.